Welcome to Explain America. This is your host, Kyle Becker. There are 2 more mass shootings, and 2 U.S. Marine veterans are involved. Less than 24 hours apart? What is going on? Well, before we get into the story about who is behind these heinous attacks, please like, share, and comment at Explain America. Join us. We appreciate your support for common sense journalism. Now, everybody knows our military veterans are among the most stressed out and traumatized people in the country. They go to war, they witness horrible atrocities, and our heart goes out to all military veterans, and we support them and want them to get the treatment and the help that they need. And when we get reports like this, it really disturbs us because it shows that there's something darker going on in this country where we're failing our veterans, and we need to rally behind them and support them and go out of our way to show our respect and our admiration for their heroic sacrifices that they've given to this country. But one Marine veteran, and we still don't know why, is involved in a horrifying attack on a Mormon church in Michigan. And we have another case, and we'll get to that later, of an attack in North Carolina. So let's start with the Michigan case because we have new details and a chilling conversation that suggests that this was not a random act of violence. So the Michigan shooter may have deliberately targeted his victims for their faith. And we even have President Trump weighing in on this, and he believes that it was potentially an anti-Christian or a religious-related attack. So we begin in Grand Blanc, Michigan, where Sunday morning worship turned into a nightmare. A man identified as Thomas Jacob Sanford, a 40-year-old Marine Iraq war veteran, rammed his car into a Mormon church, opened fire on congregants, and set the building on fire. He is believed to have killed 4 people and injured at least 8 more. Police say this shooter was heavily armed, had doused the church in gasoline, and may have planted explosive devices on the property. Sanford was shot and killed by police at the scene, but the damage was already done. And now we have to ask ourselves, what is the motive for this? Now, according to Michigan reporter Dave Bondy, a man in the area he spoke with while he was canvassing for an election, he tells Bondy that he had a conversation with this alleged shooter, and it was quite chilling. Watch.
You don't know what you're going to say that could potentially cause a reaction. So I kept my views to myself and walked away.
So at no time did you feel there wasn't any threatening or violence. It was just kind of you thought off the wall kind of talking.
Exactly. It wasn't like next week, this Sunday I'm going to do. It was more of a case of just views that were shared. And again, I mean, what I just walked away from was a person who was very animated and a mention that, for lack of a better term, that Mormons were the Antichrist.
Okay. And obviously troubling, but nothing that you would have need to alert police for anything.
No, I mean, not to say just in pop culture, but if you listen to enough YouTube, social media, like you hear different views on either side. And so it wasn't anything that I would say was violence inducing, but just people of all stripes have very sharp views.
Wow, this is really disturbing because we're seeing, once again, spirituality thrust to the forefront. We had the Minneapolis area Annunciation Catholic School shooting that left 2 small children dead while they were praying in what seemed to be an anti-Christian attack. And in this case, it might well be that there are religious motives. It certainly adds up with the modus operandi. And the chilling conversation we heard, it's backed up by other social media reports that I'm seeing online, but I'm not going to air those because it's more hearsay and it's not proven that these people were witnesses. This is more reliable. And so we're going to tend to believe this could be religiously motivated and not necessarily politically motivated, which in some sense we don't want to see an escalation of the left-wing political violence to the extreme after what happened in Dallas, where you had some detainees who were shot, one of them killed, and ICE agents seem to be in the targets of the radical left. We saw in Portland there's rioting and Trump is going to send in federal troops. So, we're really on edge with this. So in a sense, it's horrific, but we definitely don't want to see left-wing violence. We don't want to see right-wing violence. We don't want to see political violence at all. But it is a problem when you have these incidents that keep popping up, and even if the people are just mentally disturbed and they're being triggered or radicalized, or there's some kind of stimulus in the media or whatever that is just driving these people over the edge for some sad reason. And we have to really get to the bottom of this, because we have another former Marine possibly suffering from PTSD. Police arrested Nigel Edge, another Iraqi war vet, accused of firing a modified rifle from a boat into a crowded waterfront bar. He killed 3 people, injured at least 8, and was arrested with a short barrel AR rifle, a suppressor, and a scope. So basically a custom weapon for maximum damage. He's now facing multiple charges, including first-degree murder and attempted murder, and his court date is set for today. Now, here's what gets really disturbing. Both of these attacks were carried out by Marine veterans, and both happened within 24 hours. Both of these seem to be calculated, coordinated assaults, not chaotic acts of random violence or crimes of passion. So statistically, the odds of this happening are anywhere between 1 in 1.3 million or 1 in 5 million. That's not just rare. That's almost unprecedented. So we're not saying this is tied together or there's some conspiracy, but there may not be a coincidence completely that this happens just weeks after a wave of violent incidents across the country, many of them involving churches, conservatives, and religious groups. You might recall the stabbing of Irina Zarutska by a man who said he targeted her because she was a white girl. Then we had the Annunciation Catholic School shooting in Minnesota that killed 2 children. We mentioned that briefly earlier. We had the Charlie Kirk assassination attempt, and we're still reeling from that. There was a shooting outside of Fox 10 that appears to be related to that. A bomb planted at a Fox News truck. Just days ago, even The Atlantic admitted we're all seeing left-wing violence on the rise. So now we have to ask, was this just 2 struggling veterans pushed over the edge? Or is there something more insidious going on behind the surface? Because here's the reality. These incidents are going to be labeled right-wing extremist by corporate media, despite no evidence so far that politics played any role in them. So ask yourself this: what happens when violence becomes normalized? When churches get firebombed? When Christians are slaughtered while they're praying? And the media doesn't seem to treat this in the seriousness that it deserves, because it doesn't involve clear-cut cases of right-wing terrorism. So people get a distorted view of political violence and what's going on in this country. So we need to have a serious conversation about this using facts and data, or the consequences are going to get a lot worse, not better. So we'll keep asking the questions and asking for your feedback. We want to have a good, sensible conversation about all of this, but it certainly is disturbing, and this is a pattern we want to see stop as soon as possible. So keep praying for each other out there. Keep treating each other with kindness the best that you can, and I think that's probably the best plan right now. But of course, if you support the Second Amendment, that is great too. So just be prepared and be safe and take care of each other. This has been Kyle Becker for Explain America.